Alright, alright, alright. Welcome everyone. What's up, Norman? Norman Rummy. Joseph Edge. All right, so today we have two guests that have a very unique take on FCing, and I would say not just FCing, but like fighting the blob to a degree at least. You know, fighting the blob isn't always that easy. So Mar5hy, for those who don't know, Mar5hy is very specialized in cloaky camping. I'm not actually quite sure how specialized Olmeca, how specialized are you in cloaky camping? It's a different take on it, right?
Well, no, I just basically have the same setup with Mar5hy, except smaller in scale, just 45 accounts in Delve. Rather, Mar5hy has, I think, way.
Yeah, you do it a little bit differently, but so Mar5hy has a massive amount of cloaky camping. You're probably the biggest cloaky camper the game has ever seen. Is that correct? That's probably correct, right?
Probably 185 accounts that can do it, yeah.
185 accounts that are running that are cloaky camping people. So, and to a scale where it actually has like political influence, really, right? People pay you to hit their enemies and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah, whenever this was, that's when the contracts come in, right?
Yeah. And I remember when we worked together once, you had a contract going against GOTG, and we were close by, and we used to hunt them anyway, right? Every now and then we would show up and bring a Stuka fleet and kill some rockets, or supers if we could. And you always said, like, you basically gave us like until last minute, like where's actually the biggest amount of rockets in one belt, just to get that extra efficiency, I guess. That was always great for us to use, even though it wasn't hard to find rockets at the time. Like they were everywhere. It was almost hard to not find rockets. But yeah, that way we could always like be very efficient. Like instead of just tackling those 5, we tackled 10 in another system and stuff like this. And you always wanted to then get on the mail to show your client, like, here, like, I'm involved, right? I'm doing my job and stuff. So that's an important part too, right?
Yeah, to show that it's not just you guys rolling in there that, I gave you the intel. Yeah, it helps. Yeah.
Yeah. And then also, I remember that we killed a couple rockets, and then you asked for the loot. And that, that caught me a little bit, like, I don't know. I don't want to.
We butted heads then, don't we? Yeah.
And that had some.
To the loot, didn't I? Yeah.
It's a good example of like how little things can sometimes turn into some weird stuff, because I feel like, so you asked for the loot, even though I felt like, well, I'm helping you to fulfill your contract, while you help us be a little bit more efficient in like what we tackle. So both sides benefit, and then you ask for the loot. I'm like, no, that's not cool, right? And then I don't know. I think I made the mistake of judging it a little bit too aggressively. I thought it's like an aggressive move, and you're kind of being a dick. But I don't think that was actually your intention. And then I said, like, dude, like, we don't need you really. And then this kind of thing escalated a bit. You remember?
Oh yeah, I think I had you blocked in Discord for a bit and everything. Yeah.
Oh well, I had you blocked. I thought really? So we had each other blocked. But yeah, it was as close. I don't want to call it drama, but it was close.
That kind of thing is kind of like normalized. So for both Mar5hy and I come from a bomber spar background, and in there, like FCs and particularly the hunters get all of the share of the loot. So we kind of like have this mindset of whoever finds the target gets the loot. Everyone else does the work, for fun, for kill mails. So then because finding the target is the hardest job, and and also running cloaky campers are costly, so on and so forth. So it's like the hunters get the best thing, and then the top loot, and then everyone else is secondary with respect to loot. So that's kind of normalized logic we have. Mar5hy probably had that, by default, and then you were kind of not used to it. So
it caught me. I think it was like just in the moment, I just picked it up the wrong way. That's what I think
I
now.
think we both
And then
the same thing. We should have just agreed on a cut each, and that's it, right? And then just let it go.
I still believe though, like I said, the situation for us was not, we didn't have problems finding rock cards. It was just,
Yeah, they're everywhere.
it would be a little bit a little bit more efficient for us to know exactly what system and get the whoop in ready right away and stuff like this. But we never had problems catching those rock cards anyway. And that way you could get on the mail. So I still feel it was like a 50-50 relationship. And you probably thought like it's worth just asking. Who knows, right? But then it kind of escalated into what it was. And you remember those Titans when you take those? I think that played a big role. I still I don't want to say I was mad or anything, but I felt like no. you don't get to kill those Titans now, right?
Yeah.
That played a bit of a role, I have to say.
Yeah, and then we went for Fountain, didn't we? A week later or something with
that's
and that, like, remember? That was like the revenge fleet.
Yeah, I talked about that with Elo actually too. And I also talked about with that disconnect I had. It's like there's some fishy stuff at play. But yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that kinda, it's like just one sentence that kinda spirals out of control. And then it can just, create the weirdest situations.
Yeah. And Eve's a small place, right? Really, like
especially nowadays.
These things have a big impact too.
Yeah, and like I said, like it was 5 Titans tackled, and then how many? You killed one, I believe.
We killed one, yeah.
And then the rest we came in and saved them. And at the time, luckily, nobody knew how to deal with Stukas yet. Right, so there was 2 Munin fleets. Yeah, there was 2 fleets of Munins and a Stuka fleet there, and they didn't know how to engage us. So everyone was like, we've got 1 Titan. Let's just call it a day.
Yeah, that was enough, yeah. And I was doing, I was just doing normal, Blops bombers then, and not doing the Stukas as well. So
yeah, exactly.
Can't fight much with them.
No, yeah, they're in, they deal damage, and that's it. As soon as there's anyone fighting back, you pretty much, there's nothing you can do. And so in Olmeca, you're not known for like just Krogi camping. It's more you're more known for the crafty techniques and stuff, like bushing excavators off and making especially that video, the Whaler, right? Just before your CSM campaign, which I thought, which was a great video, but also the timing worked out really well with the CSM campaign. I mean, obviously it's not a coincidence.
Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, I was always going to do that video. It was on my backlog, but then I realized, why don't I use this for the campaign? Or why don't I run for CSM even? Because, I mean, before this year, last year, it was kind of, it looked like, for us non-consensual PvPers, it looked like the game hasn't been moving us toward our direction and kind of like alienating us and so on. And the changes are impossible to get, and more of more and more people of our playstyle were leaving the game. So it was like it wasn't that imaginable to get a CSM spot, and then like without depending on a null block or a block of players that are willing to vote for you. But then I realized I could just tie that video with the CSM campaign, and it worked out.
Yeah, what for sure helped is like your focus is on hitting goons, right?
Yeah, I guess.
And there is a culture in Eve that's goons, it's just what it is. And there's a lot of people that are, against that playstyle maybe, or they just hate the guy who's on top right now. I don't know what it is, but there's a bunch of people that don't like goons, and that definitely gave you the first couple votes for sure. That's the guys that then go to their friends, say, hey, have you seen the video? Let's vote for this guy, right?
I mean, I'm not quite sure. Like, people like to exaggerate the influence of that. Maybe I got some pan votes from that, but I also know what kind of people voted for me. Like, for example, AOM voted for me because my video had kind of like Rooks and Kings kind of style, where it
really?
advocated for asymmetric warfare. It advocated for creativity over N+1. It advocated for innovation over grind and PvE gameplay. So those are, I think, the ideas were more important than the anti-gun sentiment. But I'm not going to deny that that sentiment helped as well. But for example, AOM voted for me. Riotric, maybe he was a bit anti-gun because he ran a campaign, but Wingspan voted for me. They are not that anti-gun.
But how
So
many
it's
people
like
is that, Wingspan?
a
Is that
lot
a
of
lot?
people. You would
I don't even know.
you check the alliance. It's like not a small alliance. Like Inner Hell voted for me. They're not particularly. They have gun alts mining in Delve. I know because they're. I have friends in Inner Hell and they're asking me. Some of them are like, "Can you blue my Rorqual and not steal my excavators?" So yeah, like Inner Hell, many C2 corps who like to roam in Delve and roam in Nullsec, and many MPSI people who knew me from Bomber's Bar because even though there was drama between Bomber's Bar and I, we shared a common play style, right? So yeah, I think it was more the like I really I'm not gonna be humble on this. I ran that election the way I think it's supposed to be run. I ran on ideas. I ran on my vision, and nobody else. I've seen no other candidate was so that much open, that much like elaborate, with AMAs and everything. Like the ideas, how they would see the biggest problems of Eve and how they would solve it, even though probably none of those solutions would go into the game. I think those are the kind of things that candidates should run with. So that happened,
Yeah.
and I think that resonated with people, and here we are. And then since then, I've been kind of silent because now I'm doing the CSM work, and I'm not gonna do it. I'm not doing like Reddit threads as much, and saying this is the problem. Here's how we should solve it. I used to do that a lot.
So, like, I'm happy you're on the CSM, but not necessarily for like your points of view or anything. I'm just thinking we need as many different playstyles or perspectives on the CSM, because I believe it's not the work the job of the CSM to go and present ideas necessarily. I mean, it can just work out. Why wouldn't it? But in general, I think the job of the CSM is approaching CCP, giving them an idea how their game is actually, working. Like, for example, like Exuki did with the presentation for wormholes, right? I think that's the prime example of that, to get everyone the information so they can make the right decisions, right? And I think that's why we need a more diverse CSM.
Even CCP agrees on that. I think they were impressed as much as us about Exuki's presentation and what he brought to the table with the wormholes, and even CC. I'm not going to be. I don't think this is NDA information that even CCP wants more diversity. So
but it's not.
Yeah,
it's not easy to achieve in a fair way. That's the thing.
Yeah, because I always keep saying a lot of people disagree, but like the Nullsec Empire Mega Corporation Mega Block playstyle, it by definition relies on social bonds and social bonding and caring about the social aspect of Eve, which gives them an edge in the CSM elections, because they have all the channels already set, they have all the communications ready, they have all the ranks, they have infrastructure to do exit polls even, and then they also have all the kind of like social bonds to get each other on each other's ballots, and that kind of like accumulates and gives an edge to those organizations. And that's not the fault of others. That's not the fault. People keep saying like, if you want to see diversity on CSM, then vote, but it's not as easy as that. Those other player groups don't have that social structure readily available for nullsec.
And
and they don't rely on it. The nullsec relies on it, right? So for other reasons, they have to have those social structures. For their play style, they have to have. But say I'm like a high sec dude, I don't need to have like discords with 30,000 players on it, right? So then when you lack those kind of structure, it's less likely you're gonna be pushed to vote for someone, and then we're gonna have less diversity.
Or you even see like wormholers, right? Like Exuki, like he kind of got lucky that Brisk wasn't running, and then we decided to try get someone elected who would otherwise not get elected, right? We just got lucky
Yeah.
that Init would then put like a lot of votes. I don't know how many exactly, but like a lot of votes into Stitch, Kaneland, and Exuki. Stitch, who didn't get enough votes, but Exuki just got just enough. He just got elected, so
Yeah.
I'm
And
glad
I realized
we did that. Yeah.
a lot of the votes that I was the first place trickled to Exuki because I had like an excessive amount that I didn't need as much. So a lot of like votes that I had trickled to first Exuki and then Steve. And so it's like it's interesting. The more people you have in your playstyle running for CSM being successful, the more likely you are successful. The way the current election system works, because then if you have allies who mobilize people to go vote, if those people are also very likely to put you in the second or third position, then it makes it more likely for the votes to trickle to you.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, for example, if I didn't have that many votes, Steve wouldn't get on, and instead Sort would. So I actually checked the math, and that's like true. And a lot of other votes trickle to Exuki as well. So it's like it's very important to have people sharing your playstyle and allies on the CSM elections too. So it's kind of like a weird mechanic, really.
Yeah, and by the way, like we plan on making that a little bit of a tradition for Init to support the like a new like a small scaler, maybe a low sec guy, maybe a wormhole guy. Every year, I talked to Brisk about it, and he likes it too. Even though he most likely, I don't know 100%, but he most likely is going to run again. But he still agrees like it's a cool way to do it. That's gonna, he's gonna miss out on those votes. Maybe,
Yeah.
right? So, but yeah. So
I mean,
if anyone here is listening and is thinking about voting for a small guy or whatever, like there's a chance, all right? There's a chance we can get like one, maybe two this year. Maybe we can get some more groups to do the same, and then we agree on like maybe 3 candidates, and then everyone in the right state of mind is just voting for those 3 candidates who have like a unique take on things and have maybe a little bit more, of a small scale perspective, or content creation. That's my focus, to be honest.
Yeah. Do you think there should be restrictions in like how many people from the same coalition should be allowed in the CSM? Like,
it's a tricky thing, right?
Yeah.
How are you gonna do that?
I haven't a clue.
If you just say, "Oh yeah, only so many goons," then guess what? Then there's one Init guy, one goon guy, one TNT, one.
Yeah.
It's like
yeah,
how
the
do you?
artificial limits never work.
Yeah.
It's like putting a citadel limit per system. Like a lot of problems with.
What about a streamer in CSM?
But I would just stay tuned and wait for next year's election. Maybe CCP will do something about the diversity issue. Okay, so just
I hope
maybe something will change and like to encourage more diversity, because I don't know. I mean, I don't want to speak for them, but my impression of CCP is that they like this kind of diversity as well. And by diversity, I don't really mean Imperium versus whatever. Actually,
I'm same, yeah.
On CSM, the biggest thing I realized is like these entities, like Imperium, Test, and whatever, they are social groups. They are beyond the mechanics that they utilize. So we think Imperium is like a PvE-based alliance, but that's just the spirit of the time. So they don't necessarily, not all their people will defend like crabbing all the time, right? The diversity comes from electing the kind of players whose background and daily activities in EVE are the kind of thing that CCP would benefit from. So that's why I really support your initiative of like bringing FCs together and in this thing, in this stream, because we don't have enough FCs, and it doesn't matter if it's an Imperium FC. Actually, you would be surprised, the FC Imperium and the Crabbing Imperium candidates, how different the takes they have to issues.
Oh, I know,
right?
I know.
So it's like, it's more about what we have enough, what we have a lot on the CSM is the kind of people who would do empire building, right? They spend their lives, their play like cutting deals, enforcing rules, designing crablands, and thinking about the economics of everything, and recruiting people and propaganda. Like, that's a very interesting aspect of Eve. It's just there is a saturation in CSM with respect to this kind of players doing this on a daily basis, and then there is a lack of other perspectives. So that's the diversity I talk about. I don't talk about diversity of like alliances, or
Yeah.
I don't even talk about like diversity of spaces, nullsec, lowsec, whatever. But of course, if someone's daily activity is faction warfare, then if they are in the CSM, then they bring the unique diversity, because their daily activity, even if it's like an Imperium member, if their daily activity is faction warfare, then that's what I would care.
Yeah. And so I'm hoping CCP is approaching this issue at least to a degree. I'm not sure how much they can do, but if you say they might change something, then like that's good, right? So I hope we can have both, more people voting for like unique perspectives and maybe non-soft nullsec blocks.
I mean, let me clarify. There is nothing like set in stone or anything like that. It's just, I hope
No, I know
I can confirm that they're aware of this diversity
the issue.
and that benefits, and they probably want to do something about it.
Yeah. So, Mar5hy, are you gonna run for CSM?
I would like to do it, but I don't think I'm the right kind of person to deal with the social side and all the meetings and all that. Right? I'm better at actually just playing the game, like, and doing stuff in the game, right? I don't think I could deal with it, right?
Yeah, people keep asking me too, especially since I do the FC chat stuff, and like everyone kind of knows that I've probably like got a lot of ideas, or I don't even know, like a good perspective on like content creation probably. And they keep asking me to run, but like I'll never run for CSM because like I don't think the influence is all that much anyway. That I don't think you have more influence as a CSM than I would probably have by just doing these FC chats, right? I just get everyone's opinion in here, and then CCP can watch it. And I'm pretty sure, I mean, I know certain CCP guys are watching those, and then they can take out of this whatever they want. And that's basically the job of a CSM anyway, right? Get the player's opinion, like condensed or concentrated, and deliver them to CCP, so they have an idea what's going on and can make the best decision. So like, what's the point of me being on a CSM on top of that then anyway, right? So
yeah, all the work, all the hassle, all the you have to put a lot of time into it. And
I mean,
I'd rather play the game than do that. Like.
You know what, Olmeca, you could probably tell like how much work is it in the end. It's probably different from. It's probably different from person to person, though.
Well, probably, yeah. I mean, it depends on. I mean, if it's still volunteer work, so it depends on you to put as much work as you want. But there is a minimal amount of work, and it's pretty thankless. I would disagree that all you need is like a gathering player perspective, because most situations they're gonna present something to you that players don't know about and expect you to do predictions about whether that's going to be good or bad. So that's at least one thing where player opinion is limited. Although you can gather opinion about related issues, sometimes it's like an entire new mechanic where players have no idea, or nobody has even thought about it. Sometimes it's, of course, like say,
Like assault frigs and
how-
battleships.
yeah, like I like it. I like the Reddit comment on that. The best thing nobody has ever asked for. So yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean, it's
battleships
this.
though, but I
It's
haven't
similar
used
to the
it a lot.
filaments. Sorry, keep going, Mar5hy.
Yeah, just gonna go on the battleship comment. Like I've been seeing a lot more response with battleships in nullsec now. In like Brave and VVV, like they respond with dummies and stuff.
Oh yeah, you
Rather than
mean
munins and stuff.
yeah, you mean like battleships in general are already on an upswing a little bit.
Seems to be, yeah.
well,
Yeah, I
maybe
mean,
to
yeah,
defend your space, but to offend somewhere, like to attack somewhere, like maybe the worst thing about them is like their mobility, right? So yeah, you can breach a bunch of battleships to save Rorqual, but are you gonna bring that to someone else's space?
Yeah, you
I
can't
would.
bring them through wormholes. Except
You can't bring them through wormholes, yeah. So it takes a lot of preparation to get those in two places. For example, the heavy Stukas we used to run, that's Nagas. And Nagas are fairly fast to travel compared to battleships. And that took a lot of prep. Even though Test, who we were hitting at the time, were basically a region next door to our jump bridges. So we could take jump bridges, then one Titan bridge, and then we're in. And it still took a lot of prep to get places then, right? And then you only have that one shot too. It's not like, oh yeah, target 1 didn't work, let's go to target 2. No, like you have that one shot, you have to make it work. And I know you guys know how that is. You have that one shot, you form a fleet, which is one of the main reasons cloaky camping is a thing. Is that chance of tackle. Like if you form a fleet, how big is the chance you can actually tackle something and get your fleet there in time?
Yeah, you can see into the future, right? So say you don't have the cloaky campers, you're going on ADMs maybe or whatever, and you're like, oh, there might be people there, but if you're cloaky camping, you can go right. There's 3 Rookwalls here. They've just started mining. There's a good chance they're going to be mining for the next hour. But you don't have, and if there's nothing in the space, you can go, right, boys, let's not even undock. There's nothing there, and then you don't waste 2 hours of travel or 1 hour of travel.
Yeah, I mean, if we had 10 times the number of players in the game and there was targets everywhere, nobody would need cloaky camping, right?
Yeah, you would run into them all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone was like, "What? You cloaky? What's that? Like, why would you do this? Like, just tackle the guy next door. Like, what the fuck?"
Yeah.
That's
everyone's in like the they like huddle up in their regions and just wanna crab, and someone comes nearby. Everyone duck up. They don't want to engage, right? I'm a bit like sad that there's going to be less Rookwalls, because Rookwalls are like, they force engagements, right? They force people to come in and save them. So the less of them is probably worse, in my opinion, because supers are almost impossible to catch by anyone but a clicky camper or a spy, in my opinion. Right?
Yeah. That's exactly my thought on this rock or this asteroid, what's it called? Mineral patch, right? I'm not a big fan. I've never mined a day in my life. I'm not a big fan of this. And I'm not a fan of the whole supers and titans, like the blobs that have been built in the last 2 years or so, right? Which the minerals obviously play a role with. Let's not kid ourselves. But I still believe the problem starts with citadels, then with how good supers and titans actually are, and also defending the rock gods, which are really good at getting enough minerals to build all these supers. But it starts with citadels, right? Doesn't it?
Yeah, because you can duck them. Like before, you had to have a toon dedicated for a titan or a super, right? And then that was your super titan toon. But now you can duck it and then swap ships, and everyone's got them, right?
Yeah, but that's only one part of it. So first of all, you have now keepsters you can dock supers and titans in. So people can have several, and more people will have them on their main and all that stuff. Then you can build supers more easily because it's all in one place. You don't have to warp freighters all that much. You can just unload that stuff right there. Before that, you would have had to do it at a pause. Then you don't have that trust issue anymore. You don't have to eject the super out of the CSAA and say, okay, jump in. And that can shit went wrong before, right? Stuff bums and all that stuff. So that issue is gone. Then a POS when it gets hit at the wrong time, especially if it's stunted. Imagine your POS is not stunted, then it dies instantly. We had that happen before. But even if it's stunted, it comes out 1 day 17 hours later in one timer, and it doesn't have a damage cap. And it's just the safety aspect of the whole investment of this too, right? So this combination is just like, it's way easier, way safer, way cheaper too. And you get minerals to no end with the rocals now, and you can dock them up and all that stuff. Like this whole combination, it's just crazy, right? Compared to what it was before. Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't start with the rocals though, I think.
I mean, I can safely say what disturbs CCP the most is the like mining / destruction ratio. So I did my own calculations, and since Rorquals, people mined about 2,000 trillion worth of minerals, and they lost about like 70 to 70 to 110 trillion of minerals. So it's like a 20-to-1 ratio.
Yeah.
And
There's not enough conflict. That's why as well.
Yeah, so this kind of things disturb. Put yourself in the shoes of CCP. They have the God's eye view. They see how much stuff is being mined. They see how much stuff is being ratted. They're not necessarily, and that's another reason why they need CSM. They're not necessarily privy to like nuances, and they don't have boats on the ground, right? So,
I mean, now
for
they
example, yeah, with CSM, well, no, really,
do. They're trying.
Yeah,
They're allowed to play now. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're not like they will lead like a 1,000 man fleet.
Yeah.
So
No.
warfare, right? Or I don't know if any of them build like supers or titans in a great scale or whatever. Of course, they get to see the basics, and also they get to be hosted by people who play at that scale. But yeah, hopefully it's gonna work. But it's not an entire solution to this issue. So what happens is, they just want people to mine less, and then. I mean,
but why wouldn't they say they want people to destroy more? Why wouldn't they say so? The main reason
they want that too. They want that. I'm not sure. Like everyone agrees. Like it's a very unified agreement between CSM and CCP. Creation of conflict is another thing that, like a fundamental thing that should happen.
So sorry.
It's just they see these statistics, and sometimes, because they don't have boots on the ground, they overdo the changes. For example,
but they should be asking you guys then, right?
Yeah. Well, there's some issues there in that too, but they are asking, and then we're responding, and there's a back and forth, like right now at least. But my open feedback to them is like, just don't completely ruin Rorqual mining. Like a single Rorqual pilot, or like a pilot who has like 2 Rorquals, 3 Rorquals, it should be viable. It should be even more encouraged. When you think about it, like for one Rorqual, 130 billion per hour is not that a great number, really. It's not a lot of value. It's just the value comes from AFKability and scale. So like, I keep telling them, if you want to reduce these like mining amounts and so on, just target mass multiboxers, target people multiboxing 10 Rorquals, target people AFK mining orcas in high sec, target people mass multiboxing 45 barges. That there's a lot of those people, and then if you can do that targeted approach, you can actually get your economic results and also not suffocate content. And but if they remove Rorquals completely from space, then that's gonna suffocate content, definitely.
Yeah. What I always thought is like, imagine you have like a Minecraft kind of mining. You know what I mean? You dig down into the void or whatever you're on, and then you find your way, and then maybe you get lucky and find some fucking, I don't know, spot left and right. I don't know what even is the best Arcanor. Like, I don't even know. Or the R64 shit, So you dig into this asteroid, and then you find stuff here and there, and then there's a little bit of a I'm sure it just feels different to the mining, right? But you wouldn't be able to do that with like 20 chars. You can do that with one raw card and you can mine super fast. And then you get that done super quick because you have like 5 excavators. But you wouldn't be able to scale that up to this crazy degree. So yeah, I totally agree that the scalability is the issue with the mining amount. But the destruction amount, which is where Mar5hy, or well, all three of us actually come and play, that's our business, right? Destroying that kind of shit. The main issue with but the main issue for that is the supers and titans. They're just too easily fielded, and then they can defend anything. And you don't need a great number of them, a good bunch of them. They can kill any subcap fleet, really. You can't crack them. And that's the issue for the destruction, why the destruction isn't happening, right?
Yeah, but let me put that into perspective. Like, people expect a lot. Like, destruction, I think, is good to create reasons to play for Eve for people. Like, keep people being sub, being interested, interesting stuff happening. Big, large soul warfare, or in our scale, it's like daily killing of rorquals and supers. That's all good, except it's not gonna right now. Like, about 40 trillion a month of minerals are still being mined, and the destruction is like 1 to 2 trillion a month. So if you double the destruction, which is very like hard to do, it's not going to matter that to a greater degree with respect to economics, with respect to resources, and like with respect to proliferation, like sustainability of the game. So I agree that destruction should be like it should be one of the two things CCP focuses on, but the economy doesn't really. It's not a big factor given that with respect to economy, given that the creation is this huge, this much powerful, and like 40 trillion a month. So it's like, again, 20 to 1 ratio. Even if you triple the destruction, it's not going to matter that much with respect to economy. But it's, of course, it's going to create more content for everyone and more engagement for everyone, and that's good in itself. So that's why I support destruction.
So, but it is possible to double or triple the destruction with like fixes to supers and titans and their application. I would say
like capital should not be able to apply to fucking frigates, right? Like, say you go to a region and you drop on their rorquals, they should have to come with an equal subcat fleet and outskill you, fight you properly, right? Like, you shouldn't, like, capitals jumping in 100 supers takes no skill. You can't be killed, right? You're 100k away, lining out. You send your fighters in and clean up all the shit, and then that's it, game over. You should have to form whatever, like subcaps. You know, you're against Munins, so form something that counters Munins, or you're against frigates, so form something that counters frigates, and then go in and defend properly. Like, you know, you should fight. You should have to be skilled, not just drop a mass amount of force, right?
I mean, Mar5hy, we've been getting Asteros lately in Dallas.
Yeah.
Is that? Yeah, I think John is doing like what do you call it?
Yeah.
So it was John's herpes? No.
Yeah.
What was it? I forgot the names.
Yeah,
John's
Stractos now.
Then herpes, and then Asteros. You have seen an Asteros fleet actually.
Because of the Black Ops, like, he has the same cooldown and timer as us, right? So he can keep up with us. But with their other, with their Titans and I don't know, whatever.
That's fun though, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but that's good. I like that. Like, that's a good play, and it's better than jumping 100 Titans on you.
And I think that came with Cyno changes in particular, I think, because it's like, say you tackle a super previously before Cyno changes, even if your Titan group is not ready, is not formed yet, you can counter drop a couple of faxes, keep the super alive, and then buy 5 minutes. And in that 5 minutes, you can drop your Titans or wait out your timer, orange timer, or whatever. But right now, it's like, actually, recently, like 2 months or 1 month, we managed to, for the first time in 3 years, we managed to like make Delve dock like any other region. Very normal thing. When hostiles are in your space, you dock. You dock your supers, you dock your rorquals. And
not in Delve usually.
They used to not do that, but right now, because we employed those tactics, for example, to wear out the fatigue of the Titans. So they counter drop and we immediately drop to another target, bunch of targets, and this is where also campers come really, really handy. Without them, this kind of gameplay wasn't possible in Delve. So
you line 10 targets up like before the fleet, right? You warp to your ping spots. Oh, they're all in fleet, so you go one rocket, right? Put them all into panic. You might kill one or two. As their fleet's coming in, you go to the number 2, number 3, number 4, and then by the time you got to number 4, like the response fleet's worn out and fatigued up, right?
Yeah.
And that's where they countered us with their Black Ops doctrine, right? Which is great.
Yeah.
Like I love that. But we can counter that, we have a chance of being able to bomb it, maybe, or maybe using some. I'm not going to say.
Sorry, you were breaking up. You're not gonna say what?
Just play much better than that. Yeah.
Mar5hy broke up a bit.
Yeah, in the end, your mic broke up, Mar5hy.
Okay, it's probably my connection.
I think he was saying like, we can do something about those Asteros, and that's what matters, right? Because once you get like 50 Titans, Supers, Faxes, a combination of them, or 75 of them, then there's nothing to do. You have to move on. But once you get like Asteros, we can do something about it. We can bring counters. We can it becomes a very fair, interesting game of play and counterplay, rather than just DPS race. Can you kill a super before 50 Titans arrive?
John just said in chat, you only bomb Ashes as Astero fleets.
Yeah, we haven't managed to bomb John's ones yet. Yeah. we got one fleet once.
Did you kill some big stuff in Delve lately? I don't pay attention to that. Like, do you actually
kill a super a week, I'd say, don't we? Maybe 2.
We kill 2 supers. So we do like on average two fleets a day, a week to Delve. And I think 95% we kill a super. And then everything else is like a bonus. Sometimes we kill like 5 Rockwells as well with that. Or 6 or 7 Rockwells. Sometimes.
Oh, how do you get those? They're gonna panic and they have 5 minutes then.
We have our tricks, right, Mar5hy?
Well, yeah, like that's the great thing about Rockwells. Like we were saying we don't like multi-box and Rockwells earlier, right? But say you have 20 Rockwells in a site and you drop 150.
They all panic at the same time.
Yeah, they're all going to panic at the same time, or one guy doesn't panic, or you manage to do some tactics to make them not panic. I don't want to say specifics.
Like jam them?
Jam them. There we go. So you have more chance of killing 1 or 2 out of the 10, right? So that's a good thing about multi-box or Rockwells. And if one guy is controlling 10, maybe he can't panic them, or he's using some dodgy stuff, right?
What we tried once was we formed a shit ton of Macarials. I think we had like 100 Macarials, something like this. 100? Did we have 145? That's a number I have in my mind for some reason. I'm not sure, but a ton of Macarials. And that's a shit ton of Alpha. But the idea was we tackle them and we send our drones to one Rocker. And then he's gonna say like, oh, I'm primary, right? But then we just alpha the other guys. Right? So then I have the choice. Like, you want to wait for that alpha? Or you want to just panic all, And we never alpha the Rockwell straight up. We got so close twice, but it always like a deep structure, and then he panicked.
Yeah, so before the Sino changes, our mode of operating in Delve was like a small, very tight-knit group of like 10 dreads, 15 dreads. We used to drop a lot of threads to supers, and that was it. Like a small, the Discord channel we operate is called Dell Pest Controlling Inc. So our mode of operating was like a small group of threads. After the Sino changes, we kind of evolved. So we invite tons of people, and it's very hard to keep OPSEC with that. But we manage. Sometimes we don't. But like then we get like the group of 150 or 200 polarized bombers. Those are the critical masses where you alpha a Rockwell.
150 bombers.
Polarized bombers.
Polarized bombers. What's the alpha? Is it 7,000, 8,000, something like this? Maybe. Can't be that high. Like we tried it with Max. That's a 12k alpha.
Maybe like alpha is an exaggeration, of course.
Yeah,
like,
but you kill them so fast that they don't have reaction time.
Yeah, 15 seconds, and you're very likely to kill them.
Yeah, and I mean we're flying Kikis now, and we see that sometimes. Like if I have 100 Kikis in fleet, that damage is insane, right? So some people are just not ready for that kind of damage. And
I mean,
then they
particular
just die.
carriers, they just melt, right? So carriers are easy.
Yeah.
Supers and road quells, not so much, but like 200 polarized bombers, that's like, and we realized that those are the kind of numbers we need to pull to be able to do anything in Delve. But at least we were able to pull it. So that plus the Sino, like plus the campers, plus the Sino changes and everything else, it kind of enabled us to operate in under the biggest umbrella to a better degree. So a bunch of Rorquals and supers die every month, and they become like content to 200 people, and these people come from very different opposing places in Delve. In Eden, so different alliances. So it's very like a very good outcome of Sino changes, I would say.
Yeah, and I've been reading chat just a little bit. Like obviously on these, I can't read chat all the time, but some people, I think someone said earlier, like Mar5hy is the cancer of Eve. Right? Obviously, people hate cloaky camping, but maybe like so you want to explain why? No, let's say like I always say, cloaky camping is a symptom, right? It's not. It's not. Cloaky camping itself is not the bad thing. It's like, why do people cloaky camp, right? So maybe you want to explain, why do you cloaky camp?
Why do I cloaky camp? Yeah, it's the intel problem. That's the first. Well, initially, let's go back to when I started. I actually started it initially to kill bots, right? So when you in Faith of Bollis, right? Used to go around there 3 or 4 years ago, see loads of bots. So I thought, you can't catch these bots with normal methods, right? You can maybe log off and do all that stuff. But what if I put, I don't know, 5 clicky campers in the systems? Will they eventually ignore me, right? Because where else are they going to go? And they would move systems, right? Because I only had 5, and then I'd just follow them around, and eventually they would blue me, right? And I would test things. I'd take a neutral ult down the pipe. Oh look, there's this guy in local. The bots have warped to their pods, right? And that's how I started. So to stop botting, and then it evolved into someone said, oh, can you clicky camp for me this region right here? I don't like these people. And I said, yeah, all right. And I spun up like 5 more or whatever, and it just grew and grew and grew. And then I just worked out that it's the best thing against intel, like whether it's a bot or whether it's a real coalition or a real player. It's the best counter versus the local chat system that we have right now. Like when blackout happened, the clicky campers were useless. They weren't there, right?
I mean, I wouldn't say useless. I remember you being in all those systems. They're like, there's a target here, there's a target there, and it's even better if there's no local, right? So they weren't useless.
When people don't, that was too far, and like blackout was actually too far. Like it was way overpowered, right? And it was too far the other way. But I think if we had a middle ground where you can't warn someone that your 10 jumps down the pipe, you can't warn the super, like, so easily. Make hunting like fun and enjoyable, And
what would you think is the middle ground? What do you have in mind?
Some sort of delayed local or.
Have you been watching these? You've been watching my FC chats before, right?
Yeah, I watch your FC chats.
Yeah, because I always say like, all we need is like 20 seconds. Give us 20 seconds, and then we can police all the botting too.
20 seconds, and you can look at D-scan, and you've got 20 seconds to go. Right, there's a super in this site. All right, he might be aligned. If he does everything right, maybe he should get away. Like, there's a lot to be talked about that. But right, he's in the Haven XJQ. Right, what my saver there? You get him right. Great.
You might.
Did a good job.
I mean, if he does everything right, he's still untackable. He just doesn't get the free intel of, oh, there's a new guy. I'll just warp out before he even initiates warp to you. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's just crazy. Like I can see it with Brave Space a lot. Like if we roll into Brave Space, or if there's one like Blopsep guy in any of Impasse, they'll ping out, and then the whole region ducks up. Then you're like 20 jumps away. It's just
yeah.
It's just a problem, and they've got much more numbers than us. We're taking 50 Lokis that cost 1 bill each to somewhere where they've got 200 people, you know, and they're using dummies which are 300 mil each or whatever. You know, it's just, I don't know. We take a lot of risk, and if I couldn't cloaky camp, I don't know. I don't even know if I'd play this game if I couldn't catch things and get fights, right?
Lipsifu says in chat, delay will just have the same effect as blackout. I disagree. The problem with blackout was if you are in a raw call or in a super and you're reading, someone can set up, someone like Mar5hy, if he's in system, he can just watch you for half an hour and then form for you. If someone is already there and formed, then yeah, fair play. Like, you have to get there first, and then 20 seconds later you show up. You have to travel through some systems to get there first, right? Unless you use a warm-up.
So the first time we used cloaky campers in Delve, it was like nobody was able to kill a super or titan even because of the umbrella. I mean, of course, they were like outlying cases, but a super and a titan who is doing the like the job of lighting a sino and calling for help is always saved, right? And then we deployed the campers. That was before the sino changes. We had to watch people for an hour or 30 minutes and we had to observe their ratting and to decide which side they will warp next and at what range, right? So we can actually pre-inhib that site, like deploy inhibs and bubbles. So once they land, they are unable to sino, which creates a time window to kill the target.
Yeah, so that's how we killed the first supers. But
like,
we had to position it in a certain way so we could drop the dreads within 20 kilometers of them. So the inhib would have to be 8 from their warp-off spot, right? And the bubble would have to be on their warp-in spot to catch them and drag them in. Like, it was very it was very, very hard. Yeah.
It was very delicate, and that was only possible by cloaky campers watching the target for 30 minutes, and that was the only reliable way to kill a super in Delve. Even sometimes they would save them, and sometimes even the super ended up to be a bot, but they still would get saved because we drop dreads and they see dreads and they come defend the super. So it's like, even when you say, you know, watching a target for hours is kind of like an OP, well, it depends on what kind of space you are in, right? If you're like in a space like Delve where, you know, there is a ginormous response, then it becomes less overpowered to give a hunter that capability. But if you're in Brave space or other people's space where people actually will dog as a response to a cloaky camper, I get the negative results of like negative connotations with that, because you force people to dog. They don't have a lot to defend their stuff with, and the line members, they don't have any chance to defend their subcaps. So it's like, and then people see a lot of people logging off and stop playing, and then maybe like that's a big bad thing about cloaky campers. But then in some region like Delve, it's the opposite. So the cloaky camping becomes the only asset which you can respond to local powers, and like the power of the
local
intel,
the power of intel and everything. And my approach to this is I would bring in a new ship class to Eve where it's hidden from local and it can actually freeze local by sieging or something. So that would be my take on how to find the middle ground. So you can actually conceal. Say in Delve we plan it or in anywhere else, like you plan a dread bomb and you log in your dreads in the station. You cannot conceal that, like in Fountain even. You cannot conceal that from the defender, right? So the second thing about Blackout is like it gave people the ability to conceal those operations. So I think the middle ground is giving the ability to conceal those operations and giving a better chance of tackling. And both of those things can be achieved by that new ship, I think.
Well, I still believe the best way they should do it is put the local onto a structure, like an ESS kind of thing. I mean, not that the ESS is balanced damage-wise, EHP-wise or whatever, but just like a structure that they can put in space that then can be attacked. And then people can defend it if they want their local and stuff like this.
I heard that a
That would
lot,
create.
and I think it's the worst, one of the worst ways to approach local.
Why?
Because first of all, you tie local to a benefit of like settling in space and infrastructuring it up. But whereas we actually need local less in space where there is more infrastructure, where there is more organization, more infrastructure. We need local. We need more danger in those spaces, and not the other way around. Secondly, that's the effect. The practical effect of that is just you can attack the observation array or whatever, and then the local is gone, and nobody will take out ships in there anymore. So it's like practically it's the same as some neutral coming to your space. Until it's fixed, everyone will cease from activity. So it's not like you can do something unexpected with it. So that for those two reasons, I think I would say either that ship, or I would say the greater proposal of mine is creating a dynamic dynamic security status system, which also includes ADMs in it. So the more farm and the more bounties and the more mining in a space or proximity of a system or the system itself, the more some kind of new effects appear. One of them can be a local dysfunction. The other can be like,
Well,
say mobile cyanoinhibs get buffed. The other can be like the more farming in a system or in a region, or like I would say it's 6 light year region, which means an umbrella. The more danger should arise of getting caught to players and getting killed to players. So
so
I would. That's the second approach I would approach to local. Like the more active a system is, the more dysfunctional local can become.
what I suggested before was that, for example, right now, how it works is the lowest security system is the best to farm in, right? But also, the lowest security systems are usually like deep dead ends, deep in nullsec. So they enjoy the highest security because they're harder to reach for hostiles. And that doesn't make any sense. Exactly. So
Yeah.
actually, it would make more sense if the lowest security system was next door to lowsec or on a pipe and stuff like this, right? So what I suggested before was that the more NPCs are getting killed in a system, the higher the security status should be of that system, right? So there's those dead end systems that are getting farmed easy peasy. Like there shouldn't be the lowest security. There should be one of the highest then. Or if people farm them just carefully, they can keep them to a certain degree on a certain level, but you can't just farm there all day, every day, 23/7, and they're always minus 1.0. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And then you would see a different, set of systems.
Yeah, my take is, you realize my take is like kind of the opposite of yours, even though it's like I mean, it's interesting to think about and have this debate. But even though it's like we both imagine like a dynamic security status system, your take is the more ratting in a system, the higher the status it should get. My take is like the more ratting, it can become less secure, but less secure means more probability of getting caught and died. So like again,
I would be fine with both, probably.
yeah. Like I mean, I'm okay with like more farming means more farm spawning, like ADMs, right?
Yeah, your approach is more. Sorry. Yeah.
But more farming means more farm, some better ADMs. But I would, as I said, I would tie this to it and ADMs together. More farm means more reward and possibly more sovereignty gains. Like for example, I'm okay with like it being hard to deploy a citadel in this system, right? As an opposing faction, like as a neutral citadel or a Fennec citadel. Right now we have that for ADMs, right? So I'm okay with that, but also it should mean more danger of daily warfare, like non-consensual PvP or daily warfare, but it shouldn't just stop at the local. It should give like mobile synonyms a buff, or like more tackling factors to anomalies, like dictors or something, warping to anomalies in those systems. So imagine like the more you keep killing the NPCs, they get mad and they deploy EVOR measures, and also they they bring dictors and stuff to anomalies, so they're like they get angrier and angrier, so make the system less safe. But also they deploy more and more forces, so there are more anomalies.
But
So
that's
lore wise,
yeah, but that's an NPC approach of things, you know what I mean? So you're trying to make the systems that are being farmed less secure, and I'm trying to move the systems that are being farmed to less secure systems, you know what I mean?
but you would,
It's
by definition, you would say systems next to lowsec or something is less secure, but that's not like safety comes from player density. I think it doesn't come from whether you're
at the moment it does 100%, yeah. I mean, it's a
The more-
combination
the
of
more
things.
denser spaces, yeah. The more
It's a
dense
combination of
somewhere is,
things,
the less
though.
safe it should be. Yeah.
But the umbrella is entirely about density. It's not about, you can have the umbrella next, like Delve is next to lowsec, and also includes an NPC region. Yet it's one of the hard, like safest places to farm in because it's an extremely dense system, extremely dense region, right?
I think it's the second like hardest place. I think Esoteria is the safest place to rat in the game because
Probably,
they don't
yeah.
have any NPC. They don't have any NPC stations, right? Fountain has Serpentis Prime area, right? You there could be a dread bomb waiting for you one day. You know, NPC Delve, like you know.
There is one waiting, I'm sure.
Yeah, FWST, right? There's
Would
dreads,
be the first one.
loads of dreads in there, right, waiting for you. But Esoteria, you have to take a midpoint to get there. You know, you have to log it out in their space, and doing that without getting seen is almost impossible.
And
Yeah.
also they have less quote unquote special people hunting their stuff compared to goons. So
It's not
least
worth
that
the
makes
effort because we don't have an NPC station, right?
Yeah.
That's the reason.
Yeah. But so
I actually track these things. I track, for example, how much you have risk of losing your mining like a mining ship in Delve and Esoteria. And you're right, Esoteria is actually safer.
yeah, it's harder to reach. I mean, we show up in Esoteria now and then, but we need a lot of warm-ups for it and get there. I don't think there's a whole lot of people that even contest the umbrella nowadays. I mean, how many other groups are at the moment like tackling stuff that they know is under the umbrella? Most people probably, you know, just saying like it's not worth the risk.
Yeah, they don't. I recently moved to Terra and became like kind of blue to Volta and tried to, motivate them. Let's go kill stuff under the umbrella, and it's good, and it's content, and it's like
It's hard work.
they always want to hit like middle ground where brave is easy because you drop the brave, you get a response, you can fight, and it's like you don't get locked, so you don't have to log off your low-keys for 2 hours just to get out of the system, and you don't get rolled out and those kind of like stuff. So people, the reason, and it's kind of like cultivating effect where the more people are motivated to go to those like middle ground regions where the umbrella is not that big. So the more the umbrellas are safer, the more people are motivated to go to those middle ground regions. And then when you ask for game balance updates like to CCP, it's always like, okay, but if we pass this update like Sino changes, what's going to happen to like a Brave instead of goons? What's going to happen to these systems where everyone is always roaming and Dunk always wants to get farm at peace and people to not come. And
we caught him the other day.
Yeah, you've seen the CSR minus, right? I'm referring to that. Dunk just wants to get left alone in his region. I mean, he's kind of right because everyone and their mother is going there because their stuff is engageable compared to more.
We don't go there all that much, to be honest. And you know why? But because they're so actively rolling all the wormholes. The only times we actually get there is when Mar5hy sets it up. Right? The other day, what was it? Last week? Yeah, it was last week, right? I think. Yeah. Mar5hy, we can't hear you if you're trying to talk. But what happened is Mar5hy set up the like an impasse kind of thing, and then we sorted out some back probing and got some wormholes in there and so on. And like he took care of the original tackle, and then we baited out a little bit of a response. I don't know, but we killed. I think we killed couple faxes, was it a hell? I think we killed a hell and at least like 5, 6, 7 caps or so. Yeah, a bunch of faxes and a hell. And yeah, that's the only way we actually do anything in impasse. Otherwise, we don't get there all that much.
Fair enough. But I mean, Volta does, for example. When they roll on impasse, they're like very enthusiastic.
Oh, yeah, because they're rage rolling. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I like the playstyle at Marsh. Like I would call it like a content brokering. So it's like it doesn't matter which side you are on. It's just
Yeah.
It's just you. If you want destruction, I'm gonna bring you and the target together, right? I think my playstyle is a bit more specialized. I do excavator bushing, a bit more delve oriented. But Mar5hy is like they killed a bunch of northern stuff, like 80 billion of stuff today in Pom space, I think, with Volta and goons. So Mar5hy provided content to goons today. So it's like when people talk about like Mar5hy is a cancer, he's a content breaker. He's like literally the kind of person which this game needs the most. He's like doing the work behind the destruction.
But so you can always, there's always that argument, and I think I'm on that side of that argument, saying, does cloaky camping on average at the end actually create content? Or is it actually denying content, or is it, just somewhere in the middle? I would argue it's somewhere in the middle, because the idea is, if he cloaky camps, let's say he cloaky camps Esoteria tomorrow, what's gonna happen? Let's say there's 100 draw cards there on average online. Let's just say 100 is a good number, right? How many of these guys are gonna be on the next day and still mining? Not that many, right? And next week, there's going to be a couple of them logging in again, and they're like, nothing happened so far, so it's going to be fine. Like, I'm going to be all right. We've got an umbrella here. So they start redding or mining a little bit again. But even after a month, you're not going to have 100 raw cards again, right? You will have, that's my guess, and I'm not sure, maybe you're running statistics on that, but maybe you get up to 70, 80. So 20% less people in space.
Well, CCP doesn't want roll calls anyway, so just kidding. But yeah, I wouldn't deny. I mean, first of all, we might have like a bit divergent opinions with Mar5hy with respect to cloaky camping. I don't think it's. I think it's very positive if you do it in a space like Delve, where it doesn't really force anyone to talk, but it enables like some kills per week, additional kills that wouldn't occur otherwise. In other regions, you might say like less people in space, but then as Mar5hy said, so it's very hard to quantify things. All like say you're talking about like less content and more content, and with respect to kills, I would say it leads to more kills. But more important than that, I think the quantification should be less people and more people interested in Eve and playing Eve. And it's like it's very hard to quantify like whether roll call, how much interest the roll call kills and super kills and the kills that created by cloaky camping, how much player interest and engagement that drives compared to how much player interest and engagement the camper free ratting drives. And then there is the additional element of the economy. So CCP already wants to encourage less farming, so maybe even that is that in the favor of camping. But my official stance with respect to camping is that I recognize that it makes people dog, and that's bad, right? But I also like for example, I'm willing to give up camping today if they give us like that ship that conceals local, right? So it's like there needs to be a middle ground. Without campers, the hunting capacities are not fair and not elaborate or advanced enough. So then the farmers become the powerful side. So it's, and also you should remember like camping at that scale, and it only matters at that scale, camping at that scale is very inaccessible. You need additional PCs, like so many characters, so much investment. So that's another thing that balances it, because if it was that easy, it wouldn't have been just Mar5hy and me doing it, right? So it's another balance factor, the huge investment, also real life time and money investment.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is many other factors, but basically my bottom line sense is I'm willing to give it up. I mean, it's very soul crushing to manage that many accounts, and also like extract them every month and put them in the station and get back them get them back to their space and systems. It's very, very soul crushing. I'd just rather one ship doing all the work, so I don't have to use campers.
So you would agree when I say it would be a better game if cloaky camping wasn't as necessary, right?
It depends on like it all depends on the combination of the other things. Right now, if you move cloaky camping away, it would be worse for the game. But I would agree with you. It would be better if it would be better if it wasn't necessary. I would agree that maybe like the game just shouldn't encourage a person to get that many accounts to do to do very obnoxious work to be able to kill ships, you know?
Yeah.
So I would agree with those. I would agree that it's bad that, people dock merely by the presence of a neutral in local. But maybe that's like a two-sided problem. Maybe that's not a camping problem, but maybe that's also if you dock with like if you want to be the privileges to be in a space AFK just for yourself and not for the other side, like then that's kind of like a two-sided problem. That's not just a camping problem. You want the privileges, so you can AFK in a space in a system because you have structures, but I can't because I don't have structures. So it's like very, very complicated problem. And but at the end, I would rather an Eve where camping was not necessary, but other mechanics replaced the capabilities that camping gave us.
So I assume when I ask you, what do you think is the number one issue you believe CCP needs to address? It's local? Or is
No,
there...
not really. No, no, no.
What is the number one issue then? Like local chat is not the number one thing?
I don't know, man. I'm really bad at like having rankings. I can say five big things, but I would say the number one issue is the density. Basically, I would say the number one issue is
You would like to spread people out more.
yeah, there not being an upper limit with respect to how many people you can stack in a single region. By that I don't mean like virtual upper limit where like 100 people per region and then it doesn't accept
But isn't that a
accept
result? So you say, for example, Delve, it's too dense. Like there's too many people. Like, wouldn't you say it would be greater if there's just a shit ton of people everywhere on top of Delve being dense? You don't want necessarily to Delve to have less people, but you want more people in other space. That's basically
how
what
do you
you're
get
asking,
more
right?
people like besides more players playing Eve? You cannot double the
Yeah.
population of Eve or triple.
Well, we can. It's
Well,
technically
you can, but
possible.
it's like, yeah, of course, but it's not like let's be real here. It's like suppose you could, yeah, sure, because but I'm not even sure about that because like right now in Delve, I track the like saturation, so it's like 35 or 40,000 people or characters live in Delve, and it can actually handle like 60,000 more, I think, so, with respect to just system count and farming.
But
So
the level of drama in a region that dense.
well, there's still some sort like they're really good at like enforcing crowding rules and stuff.
I know,
So
I
I
know.
think that's Goon's specialty. But
That's why they're so big. I mean,
it's just
so
it's just
you have to give them that though. The reason why goons are so big is because they're doing certain things very well. Right?
bureaucracy.
It's
They do
not,
bureaucracy
yeah,
very well. That's
it's
very
not easy to
respected.
do. And what they're doing is not easy to do. Like, people like to point their fingers and say like, oh, you're just doing this because you have the numbers. But why do they have the numbers? Why don't you have the numbers? Right? Why don't we have in every region like a force like goons? That,
absolutely. Absolutely, and I think that boils down to bureaucracy and rules and design, and I think like people like Gareth is behind that kind of like machine, and that's very commendable. That's but also like they're utilizing the advantages or the mechanics that Eve has currently to their best interest. So it's not like maybe other people don't like to play that game, but they do, and the result is their superiority. It's just my biggest problem right now with Eve is I would say you can virtually stack 40% of the entire population of a nullsec in a single 6 light year range, and then address their farming needs, address their mining and ratting needs. I think that's what drives. That's essentially the reason why there's not an upper limit per region. So I would say maybe, and resource changes are very at the focus right now these days, and with the CCP's new approach. So maybe that's going to be addressed. I think that's one of the sole things they can address with merely changing resources. I advise them to like look at the conflict side and create wars and fix soft warfare and timers, and I say like fix structures and that kind of stuff, while they are focused, and I think every other CSM is like that, like create more conflict while they are focusing on resources, and like most of the CSM have problems with that. And my take is that the main thing they can fix with the resource changes is that upper limit per region, like upper player limit per region with respect to mining and crabbing changes, is like 40,000 players should live in 4 regions, not 1 region. That's what I would say. And that's how you get like less dense, but like, because right now, I mean, the biggest one of so many of the EVE's problems kind of reduces down to the post Rorqual, post Fozziso, post Citadel world, where the ecosystem kind of shifted. So there's, instead of like 10, 15 regions to go and find content, you have 4 main umbrellas, and then just some small, like 1 or 2 small places to go, but the rest is just empty as fuck. And I remember we were both Bomberspire FCs 4 or 5 years ago with Mar5hy. I remember trying to find places to go, and I remember having like 12 alternatives. I remember going to Dick Lane where goons lived, once per 7 fleet or once per 8 fleets. I remember going there. And for other fleets, I always had alternatives, right? Right now, if I am FC trying to find content, it's either like 4 main umbrellas and like 1 or 2 additional regions, and then nothingness.
Yeah.
So the density and nothingness kind of completes each other, right? Because like goons back then in their coalition or in their alliance, they had 10,000 people. Right now they have 40,000 people. Like, by people I mean characters, of course, not real people. But so that density and emptiness kind of like completes each other. So if you want to fix emptiness, you have to address density.
So, but wait a second. So I always approach it from, like, obviously from my point of view, like what other point of view would it be? And it is obviously the content creation part. When I go and tackle stuff, it's Supers and Titans defending those. Now, if you have this density in a region, that's also a massive target. As you said, those are the places now that you're going for. So if Supers and Titans weren't that easy to deal with any kind of subcap fleet, or with any kind of fleet, there's nothing they cannot defeat fairly easily. If that wasn't the case,
the Stuka was the best like counter.
Stukas,
right?
But even Stukas, like, you were powerless against like a certain size super blob. Yeah, like that's not much you can do either way. And those are the smallest, fastest ships ever.
Yeah, like we used to deal with the initial, but then when test and everyone piled in at the end, we were Yeah, we started to lose stuff and lose the command desses, right? And then
Yeah. So, but like what I wanted to say is, if the Supers and Titans weren't such a great multi-tool to deal with everything, then the situation would be different. It would be people come in more often to those dense regions because now they have more of a chance. Then those Care Bears, the guys mining, would then think, maybe I don't want to be next to those other guys rock on mining. That just makes me like I'm just right next to this massive target. I might as well move to whatever.
I mean, I'm not going to
You
deny
know?
the weirdness in, like, the best approach being the best approach to defend a bunch of like friendly ships in distress being the heaviest and most like biggest ships in the game, like just draw, counter drop, and clean the field. I'm not going to deny that there's a like solid weirdness in that, but also after it's like these recent months where I brought like bombers and stuff in Delve, and they brought Asteros, and I realized there is something wrong in itself in basically like what's the largest fleet you're gonna muster, suppose, for like daily fights, daily good fights. It doesn't go beyond like 100 or 200 people. It doesn't, like right now these days, if it's not a CTA, if it's not a soul warfare, you don't get like 1,000 people in your fleet. You get like 100, and also that's how much the wormholes support and everything. So it's like 200 is kind of like a very upper limit of what you're gonna get. And suppose you're going to a region and they can rage ping 300 people. So if the region can rage ping, like it's not like even they're prepared or anything. It's not like they're prepared a fleet. They have, of course, the hunters have the surprise element, but if they can rage ping and respond with 300 people, then the density becomes an issue, regardless of supers or whatever, because
I disagree.
they can they can they can they can just they can just use any ship that counters your doctrine.
Well, they can,
And
but I can
they
bring
have
any
twice the
ship
number.
that counters their doctrine.
Yeah, but they have twice, three times the numbers, and
Well,
well, that's where
maybe
we get
today.
in there, right?
not.
But
So
wait
you
a
say
second.
you say
But wait
you
a
say
second.
I can bring. You say I can bring, but you won't bring more than, like, on a daily basis. You won't bring more than 300 people.
On a daily
You can-
basis, no, but I do have a chance to every now and then wipe out that entire subcap fleet. For
Fair
sure.
enough.
And if they bring subcaps, they can get bombed. If they bring subcaps today, let's say we are showing up in Kikis tomorrow, today, and then they deal with us with mutants, for example, which is a fucking difficult doctrine to find. But then maybe the next day I'm bringing some friends and legions, or I'm bringing whatever. Like there are ways to deal with subcaps. Subcaps actually die. That's the difference. So I totally 100% disagree of the whole like, oh no, you're just gonna get outnumbered. I do not believe that. And the point I was trying to make before that was also, if the Super Titan thing wasn't as easy to deal with and they would have to field subcaps, then you would have more of those fights. You would have more people hunting in that space. Then you would have less people thinking, okay, this is the best space to red in, because it's the busiest space suddenly. That's not the best space to red in. So suddenly people are more looking at very quiet regions. And that's exactly what we are asking for, right? People to spread out a bit and go somewhere else. And then people go into another region. Let's say, what's a dead region at the moment? I mean, let's not say Great Wildlands, but let's just like some region where nothing is going on right now. People might just think, I'm just going to take this one system. Nobody's going to find me here. I'm just going to do my own thing. Well, Stain is also NPC 06, so. But you know what I mean? People might just want to start rocker mining or ratting under the radar a little bit more. And then that's not a target for big guys. That's what we are basically with 100-man fleets. We're not looking at the map and saying, there's one guy in space right here and the mining index has gone up. That's not the kind of stuff we are hunting. But now the small scale guys have something again. You know what I mean? Small scalers might just fend these dudes.
Basically, we have this very nuanced distinction between us. You think addressing the umbrella, fixing the umbrella would achieve the results ultimate results that we want. I think like that should happen, but it might not be enough. But if it's enough, then I'm
It
good
might
with
not be. Like, I'm not
Like-
pretending to know what is exactly going to happen. All I can say is that would be a step in the right direction. Supers and
Yeah,
Titans need to be
I would
addressed.
totally. I mean, I'm the most like anti-umbrella person in the CSM, but like I just our difference is I'm just questioning is that going to be enough where the density is still a thing and people can still rage being twice or three times their numbers. Maybe if it's
That
enough,
doesn't
then
matter
sure.
though, because you can
I-
beat them with skill, or you can like, if you can't,
Fair enough.
if you drop all the supers and titans, like you can't kill them. But say goons drop 200 harpers versus your, I don't know, 150 whatevers, you can beat them if you pull them in the wrong position, or if you split their fleet up with boosters, or there's so
Or you
many things you
chemo
can do
them.
versus other
Yeah.
fleets, right?
There is
whatever, like.
The point is, there is a chance. You might not win every
Yeah.
time. You're still getting outnumbered. Maybe 9 out of 10 times you get
Yeah,
completely wasted. But that one
and they
time,
should
that's going to be
allowed, like,
epic.
to outnumber you. You're going to their home, right? Like they live there. They should outnumber you. You shouldn't bring more people than them. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's all fair enough. I mean, if I would be okay with CCP fixing the umbrella and moving from
capitals are the
there.
problem,
Was that enough? Was that not enough? And also, like, remember, I mean, we want the umbrella to be fixed, but also, like, we don't want like supers to be
Useless.
completely useless. First of all, we keep saying like they shouldn't apply to subcaps that well, but that's going to remove the. But if they did it today, that would remove supers from anomalies. So it's like very nuanced thing where to fix the fighters, they also need new anomalies suddenly, right? So when you're in the CCP, CSM,
make them bash a structure. I don't know. But there you
yeah,
go.
like you make capital on the anomalies and those kind of things. Like,
Well,
so the job
why
is
not-
like bigger than just nerf.
Why not change some anomalies that just work for supers? That also
Yeah.
helps us hunters that are not cloaky camping. I'm not cloaky camping. I jump into a system, for example, in a drone region, you see a fucking gazillion drone hordes. Like, which one is the one the super is in anyway, right? The chance of me tackling him is already small. He knows I'm here. He's probably already in warp anyway. But even
Yeah.
if he's asleep for the next 20 seconds and he doesn't give a shit, even then I have to pick the right drone horde if I'm even in D-scan range to know that he's there and all that stuff. So why not have a
50-50
few
options.
anomalies that just work for supers and titans that have just bigger bigger thingies,
Yeah.
right? Bigger rats.
And they have higher reward, like a really high reward, and maybe you're
Not a
locked
really
into that
high.
site.
Let's not go overboard here. Let's not make him richer, okay?
You will never convince CCP for way higher reward. They want
Yeah, let's not
But
go
make it really
crazy, dude.
dangerous, though, you know, make it really dangerous. The site's pre-inhib or something. You can't like sinos in there. You know, like you could really spice it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I agree, and I think CCP. I mean, it's already like in the advice we have gave before. The idea of like once they fix supers versus subcaps, the supers and also will need like PvE options in nullsec is already relayed to CCP. The other thing is, I think supers and titans they should find it harder to defend your own space with, but they should actually be easier to offend some other people's space with. So I think that kind of distinction is good. Like, if you want to attack someone's Sov, that's where supers and titans. They're right now they're already like being used for that purpose. But also, like, as far as I can tell from people who conduct major Sov warfare, it's a pain in the ass to like get your supers and titans and commit to them for weeks and like across all the members. It's not a weekend affair. Maybe it should become
Yeah.
a weekend affair.
I don't think it will
Like-
ever be a weekend affair kind of thing. I mean, we've been using our supers, like moving them up and down a little bit. But even if it's super close by, we still say, okay, we need to keep them here for at least like a month or so. Otherwise, like, what's the point in deploying them just like for a weekend?
Yeah. But that already presumes deploying them is such a pain in the ass.
It is, yeah. But at the same time, it should be. Right? If it was too easy, then Goons or the PanFam umbrella or whatever, they could just steamroll whoever they want.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's
And it
you
would
want
be too
someone
easy.
going from north to south, yeah, like just to gank someone, right? Like,
that's
Yeah.
what. But I'm like, we're too tired of stagnation. We're actually like, I'm okay with the world where goons win just because they attack some people's sovereignty instead of just goons winning just because they grab it. Like, I'm okay with people being on the offensive, actually, like having supers and titans on field, winning
So
wave.
yeah, so another point there is people say like, so Goons were the first guys to really start the whole like industrial empire building, and they are just so far ahead. And that's another point I like to make, is also there's no mechanic in place that gives anyone a real good shot at catching up. And the main reason for that is citadels don't drop anything. It's 100% asset safety and stuff, right? So like, do you guys have a take on asset safety then? So for example, if you kill the 1DQ keepster because you commit with like your new Titan fleet, maybe you multi-box 100,000 Titans at some point, but and then you kill the 1DQ keepster, nothing really is lost beside the keepster itself, which is peanuts, right? So wouldn't you agree that like some assets should be dropping, or not necessarily dropping, but getting destroyed or something, so people do have actually a chance of catching up?
yeah, you got to think about like the guy that goes on holiday for a month, right? So you don't want someone going on holiday for a month and his super dies because the structure got blown up. But you should have like an insurance program or something. You can insure this amount, or it costs you ISK, I don't know, to upkeep safety or something. If you don't have insurance, your shit drops, right? And then it's a 50-50 drop, like normal. That's my opinion on it.
But I mean, think about it. Anyone who got like that, it doesn't even matter how much you got. If you lose half the stuff that you have in one station, it's not really the end of the world. And then a proposal I made before is that you can set one home station. You can set one home station, and maybe you get your asset safety only in that one home station. But everything else is not the case. For example, you can't just have your home station set in a Sotillo and then save all supers and titans that are in build or whatever, right? That doesn't work. So that shit would drop.
I mean, it's like, it's kind of tricky to suggest stuff around that would make like empire builders like very angry or whatever around SS safety.
Which
but
is
my
okay.
my very non-invasive suggestion was, and I think it like maybe the problem I see is less about people not losing their stuff, so other people being unable to catch up. But my problem was like, there's no reward of attacking it at all, except like bragging rights, right? So my take was very non-invasive. I would just give the 15% tax, not to the NPCs, but to the attackers by some mechanic. So that was and that doesn't affect the holiday people because the SS safety is still there. It's just that 15% tax that you pay to get your stuff out of SS safety, that goes to the attacker instead of the NPC corporation.
See, like, I would love to have something drop. Oops, I just dropped a thing here. I would love to have something drop. Like, if you kill something, I always like to say, for example, like Rage is a good example. When we killed Rage, a shit ton of stuff dropped, and that was craziness. But even on a small scale, I remember doing the first, like a Raitaru or an Astros, I forgot actually. I think it was a Raitaru with an Astros on grid. So from the same corp, we killed that Raitaru in Walmart space, and it was a completely different thing. People were in a good mood in this fleet. It was a structure bash of... Exactly, it was 30, 40 guys in a structure bash of a structure nobody gave a shit about, actually. But we all knew there could be something dropping. The probability of something dropping was super low, because there was an Astros on grid anyway, and that, anyone could have moved all their shit over. But they didn't. Like 3 Domies dropped and like some weird shit. peanuts for people. Nobody cares about that ISK value, but something dropped, and it was just a different feel to it. And I would love to have that whenever citadels die, like not only in warmer space. And it doesn't have to be 100% like in warmer space. You know, give me 25%. Right?
Yeah, we when when I and Bomberspar have like drama between us, I actually cooperated with Innerhell, and we killed their citadels, and like 200 billion of stuff dropped, and that was like very. It made you feel much more accomplished than just the Astros is dying. And like I also remember like sometimes some people, I did it once, go through the pain of like killing citadels in wormholes when their owners are FK and so on, because you can get like loot. And then I remember I did it once, and it was like 50 billion reward, which wasn't so bad.
Yeah, and I think that would be a really good incentive for people to go out and actually kill shit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, my proposal was very modest, because the asset safety, that 15% tax is already there, so it doesn't change anything with respect to the line member or nullseeker. But you can of course be less modest and say it should be 25%, it should be 30%, or something else should drop, so on and so
But that's always my fear. But like whenever CCP is approaching certain problems, that they only approach it just enough for people to shut up. You know what I mean? And that it just doesn't go far enough. No, but obviously with Blackout, it kind of went too far. But at the same time, it was an experiment, as they say, right? So
I mean,
it wasn't meant to stay.
Flails back and forth. It depends on what kind of changes they're doing.
Yeah.
Like, for example, the ore changes were still too strong, so they start too strong, and then they're gonna maybe relieve the changes. But like Blackout was like that. But also, you could say capital changes was the opposite. Is the opposite. So there is not like constantly new things are coming, but also they're not enough. But that's like, I think, for example, for capital changes and Team Talos and CCP Rise, I think it's a smart move to not just like bash the capitals to the depths of hell in one patch, but do it like gradually over time, and like a boiling frog or something.
Yes. Yes, I agree. They should be doing it step by step. But at the same time, I think it was Rice doing a presentation saying he doesn't feel like nerfing capitals anymore because they nerfed them so much. But it was a lot of nerfs, but they were all super small and incremental. So now people get the feeling of, oh, my capitals are getting nerfed and nerfed and nerfed, and then people are getting sick of their capitals being nerfed. While actually the impact of those nerfs is minimal, right? It doesn't go far enough. And then we are stuck with like a less bad version, but it didn't go far enough. It's the exact same thing as I mentioned before. It's the same with the whole like 50% text thing. Why aim for that if we can do it right the first time?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I give you that in Vegas, I remember him saying that too live. But also think about like your audience.
Yeah, I know. It's not easy. And I think Rise is doing a great job. And the filaments are coming back, which is great. I can't wait to do some more small scale rooms. Like, I really like. I think my guys in Corp actually a little bit mad. We didn't do any small scale rooms lately. But where am I going? It's all under Umbrella. And getting there takes so long. And I'm getting spotted 20 jumps on.
Like 25 battleships plus 25 frigates inside them, filamenting around. It's got.
Yeah, it's good. And you know the struggle. Like, for those who are not aware, Olmeca actually also streams this stuff. You don't stream all fleets, but you stream like whenever you feel like it or so. I don't know. Like, but your gameplay is way more OPSEC oriented. So I always I wonder like how you even do that. Like, that must be a struggle, right?
Yeah, I think it looks like. I mean, I see your streams, and I notice a lot of like bits and pieces where other people can use to their advantage. But also, I guess it's like it's a bit about being okay with it. So the amount of stuff, OPSEC stuff you're giving away, is a calculated amount. And for example, in my case, I stream 30 minutes delayed, right? That's actually very
30
bad
minutes?
yeah, very bad for
That's
Twitch streaming. You cannot
I do
engage
30
with your
seconds.
audience.
I went with
Yeah.
60 seconds first, and I was like, we don't need 60 seconds.
Yeah.
All I need is that they don't know the second I warp to a certain spot. I don't want them to know exactly where I warp or what target I'm calling, right?
Yeah, we
That's
do
all.
a lot of waiting around and staging, and it takes us 30 minutes to find a target and kill it, doesn't it? Like that's the problem with us
Yeah.
because the way we play sometimes. Yeah.
I mean, I could just, for example, I could stream live, but right after getting tackled on a target. Even that's gonna like ping goons, and because it's just that I have less diversity with respect to the content I'm streaming. It's either fleets and delve. I do other stuff, but I realize also like diversity is not something people like, which is weird. So it's like if I stream like Dragonor sites and abyssals and also like PvP and all kinds of stuff, it's you will get less people because people are like every channel has their own viewers and they get used to the kind of content they want. So it's like
Yeah.
you have like this weird PvE, PvP, everything interesting kind of channel. Then people who only wants PvP, kind of like are less likely to watch it. So what my most interesting thing is Dell fleets, and when I stream Dell fleets, they're gonna like get notified, and they can even like make a Discord notification about my like when my stream goes on, and then they can warn their people, and people can dock. So if I do it in a even live, like even right if I stream right after getting targets, like catching a target and right after dropping, like we depend on like 2-3 minutes, that very early 2-3 minutes where delve is
The reaction
unaware
time.
yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, the reaction time, the surprise element. So if you ruin that, then it's more likely that the super is gonna be saved, and that's when we kill the super every fleet. So we kill
Yeah.
our supers, and then we move on to Rorquals later. So there's no chance of killing a second super, because now the Gun fleet is pinged and ready on the Citadel and ready to be bridged to any system.
Yeah,
Even in a surprise attack, they're quick. Like even if we surprise them, if they do everything right, they run us in like 2 to 3 minutes. Like it's really hard. Really really hard. We have to rely on like a human error or a slight mistake, to buy us 1 or 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I usually start streaming the second we get tackle, but I do not think it's that big of an issue for us. I don't know why. Like maybe because we have more diverse, more diverse targets. Yeah. When you stream, everyone knows exactly who's tackled. It's like
sometimes I roll with Volta, like they rage roll and I'm in their fleets. For example, if I stream those, I think they would be more streamable. But then I'm not the FC, so and I'm not allowed to stream those because they have their own problems. Once they ping, they make a fleet. Like yourself, some regions by default dock. So, and that would be amplified with the stream, so they don't want it. That's understandable. But they would those fleets were like, or bombers like John. Who was there was a streamer streaming bomber spar rage rolling fleets, and that was much more friendly. You would get like
Johnny
5,
UK.
10, Johnny UK, yeah. You would get like 5-10 minutes delay, and it would work because each region is
yeah
unknown.
he also has the advantage. He, like, even if he has 5 minutes delay, he can still talk to the chat to a degree. I mean, with 5 minutes delay, it's a little bit hard.
And other people,
but for example, that's not even an option for me in most cases, or for you. We're busy doing whatever. Like, you can't read chat and then chat to people and stuff like this. And
yeah, he was never the FC. He was just a
I know.
bomber, and then that's easier, right? But in our case, yeah, I have the same problem with you. I cannot engage, even if it was live. I wouldn't be able to engage with people. And then even with if it was live, say we kill the first super, then the probability of doing a second drop, because it takes like 10 to 15 to 20 minutes to form again and to be ready to drop on a second drop, even the probability of that is reduced greatly with live streaming, right? So, and then on top of it, I kind of want to, I did it a bit like I streamed my hunting process on the campers. So I streamed my campers, and but then if I do it live, people would see which super I'm currently working on. I'm about to drop in 5 minutes, right? And then they're gonna
Yeah.
message him, and then he's just gonna dock. So for all these reasons, I had to keep like 30 minutes delay, and it's very unfriendly
I mean,
for engagement.
I got the same problem. So what I streamed before is like how to map a drifter warmer, for example, right? Mar5hy's very familiar with them. I'm not sure if you use them all that much.
Me too, yeah.
Yeah. So how to map them is one thing, but then so usually when I do a fleet like the Kikis today, usually what happens is I map a wormhole and have some friends like help me, right? For example, Ari, who's in chat, or like Norman, like I've got a good few people that help me out, and then we map a wormhole. But then the process starts, where do I find the targets, which is quite interesting, I think. Like, how do I even select the systems we go for and stuff like this? And I don't use cloaky campers, so I have to guess and like use experience most of the time to, you know, find the targets. But I can't stream that, right? So I would like to stream the whole process. Maybe I'm gonna do it once and just gamble, but I'm gonna form 150 dudes. Like, I can't just risk having a complete no-show just to stream it, like 150 people and fleet. Like, that really isn't an option, right? So it's a little tricky. Maybe I'm gonna record one, like how the entire process works, and then, you know, upload it on YouTube or so. But yeah,
I mean, you look at ADMs and industry index for roll calls, and also bounties for supers and people in space, and it's actually a very interesting gameplay, and like a very, like, it's something that a person in Eve can self-actualize and get like, it's one of those areas where you can become a great expert, and people benefit from your expertise because you're leading them towards targets. It's very interesting content, but you cannot stream it because, you know, OPSEC issues.
Yeah, in general, the most interesting content you cannot stream. It's just impossible, right?
Exactly.
If there's high stakes, you better not stream.
But
I mean, why would you? You can make a
nice
video. That is true.
And, run for CSL.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I won't.
A 6-hour-long video.
A 6-hour long video to make it realistic, right?
Yeah.
So the viewer has a feel of like how much work and what a pain in the ass it is actually to do all this stuff. Yeah. Sometimes I think sometimes people get the wrong idea of what's actually going on, and they think, oh yeah, they just wing it, right? Pano just links some fucking random desties, and we just jump this random wormhole, and we just burn 2 like random desties, and we've got a good success chance. Like, Eve is full of targets. Like, that's not how it works, right? It's like, it's a process.
Yeah, like today,
we start
like,
2 hours before the
two
fleet
of
we
our
start, right?
Yeah, 2 of our drifter hoes got rolled, right? You were going to go to one, then the other one, and then they both got rolled, and I had to find the third one, and we, in the nick of time, we just got it, didn't we?
Yeah.
It made it happen, so... But then that made you burn 10 jumps through with the tie-dye, and it delayed you by, you know, 30 minutes or some bullshit, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's what happened earlier today, right? That's, for example, also that part which I didn't stream. Like, obviously I streamed later on, and I think Mar5hy never said anything, but I assume it's not a problem if I stream these as the second we get tackled and hostiles are aware. Boom,
Yeah,
like,
sure.
you know, like whatever, like they can see what's going on anyway.
Everyone knows by then, yeah.
Yeah, but like, so for those who are wondering, like earlier today, we had an op set up actually together with you, and you guys actually take 25 raw calls. It's like, what the fuck? I think you guys said like that dude that we were looking at like has like 10 to 15, but then you take 25. But also what happened?
Yeah, 5 of them logged off like, because we couldn't aggress them all in time, and they logged off in the bubble.
They just locked
shit.
off.
Yeah, because if you don't aggress something and it doesn't try to warp, and
Holy
you
shit!
can log off.
I've
Yeah,
never,
so say you take
I've never seen that with rockets though.
Yeah, if they don't have Rataga or anything like that for a while, that 5-minute timer's down, they can log out, you know.
No, it's true.
So we were getting our tracking disruptors, you know, lock up every rock and cycle your tracking disruptor on it, you know.
Yeah, and that, you know, it's not easy to tackle 25 raw cards when
No.
Ari, who's my like right hand and chords like people, she suddenly said, okay, go. They've got 25 raw cards. I'm like, what? Like, how are they going to
Well, yeah.
tackle 25 raw cards? You didn't have a massive
If
local
it
fleet.
wasn't one guy, if it wasn't one multi-boxer with all them same names, like they weren't burning out the bubbles and stuff, right? So that made it a bit easier. But if there were 25 individual people, I reckon half of them would have got away, to be honest with you. Like they're hard, aren't they? They have smart bombs normally. They can even deploy micro jump drive units if they're clever, right? It gets really spicy.
But
we got lucky, you know, it went in our favor.
Yeah, but then another complication was the Titan. So you guys used the Titan to bridge right on top of them or next door and then gate in. But that Titan was too nervous to bridge us. I don't know why. We don't have a reputation of backstabbing anyone. I think we have always been a little.
I would vouch for you.
Yeah, we have always been clean when it comes to that. We never do that kind of shit. And then this guy said, who was also a Trigger guy. We've been working with Trigger quite a bit. We know Kenda very well, but hey, whatever. But he got nervous and he's like, no, I don't want to bridge him. And we're like, okay, 15 jumps, we can do this. But then we end up in tie-dye. Every jump had fucking tie-dye, and we're struggling to get there. You know, sometimes it's those little things. But, you know, in the end, it all worked out.
I mean, so I'm fighting with this,
like,
I'm fighting with this conception that, you know, killing mining ships or ratting supers are just gangs, and there's no skill involved, and like it's just a bunch of people blobbing a poor Rockwell or something. But behind the scenes, there's huge effort bringing your fleet to the target region and then establishing a tackle and then trying to survive the umbrella. So that all these three aspects takes hours of effort and things going right. Like in Delve, even with the FK campers, so many small variables need to go right to catch a hell or a super. I can in good conscience tell you that if these, for example, if every super in Delve was smart enough, they would have survived. Like they wouldn't die to us. If every super we killed was smart enough, they had the chance. They just so many things need to go right. Plus, you depend on the other side making an error. So you establish tackle in which the defense can respawn in 1 minute or something, so maybe it's not a kill even. So you have to drop even like 5 more dreads just to secure the kill in 1 minute and 30 seconds, and you lose like half the super's worth of stuff in dreads because they're suicide dreads and you use 5 of them. So it's like, and then like these fleets that we conduct are, I believe, one of the most complicated fleets in EVE, including the consensual PvP fleets. We have so many roles and we have so many little things to do and so many things to worry about. For example, when I FC, I just leave grid FCing to Mar5hy or someone else, because you know grid FCing is not that important in this. Like so many other variables with hunting and with planning and with bunching targets next to each other and like lining up targets to drop and so on and so forth. So many things are going on. I just can't be arsed with the grid FCing, so I leave it to someone else. We have people,
and you can't do it properly, right? Because you've got your eyes on 10 other things. You can't FC them properly, right? So,
I was expecting a little dig here. Someone who can do it properly.
Like we have people solely allocated to looting the grid. Just they come in blockade runners, and they still need to pay full attention because the response can come in any minute, and they can die. They can get bubbled. So they just bring in not an alt, but a main in a blockade runner to just loot the field. That's an additional job. Like dropping dreads, having a sign up for them, having a back home sign up for them, having a back prober, having some like logged off sabers, having people to jam the like roll call jammers, having people to newt the supers, like focus voids, but also like having like newt legions to keep them fully neuted. Like we have, maybe I can list you 20 separate jobs.
Yeah.
uh,
The
and
same
then
for us, yeah.
imagine trying to get this fleet, this composition where you have this many specialized jobs out of like an MPSI kind of thing, like 10 different corporations, typically people that don't fly together with each other. That's your advantage. You have like a tight knit group, and you're used to flying with each other. But we're trying to like
Yeah.
make it work so that like 10 different groups work together. And then imagine trying to get like, and we have the tackle group. We have tackle Arazus, tackle Stratioses. So imagine getting all those elements across like 10 different corporations. My wife is a bit mad because I was speaking loudly.
I'm sorry. I'm also.
ECM's a
I usually aim for 2 hours. We're just at the 2 hour mark, so like it.
Yeah.
We should probably like get your wife aggro sorted out soon.
Anyway, so like so many roles and trying to do it with 10 different corporations, and I sit down in a summit or a CSM meeting and people telling me like you
It's
just
easy.
gang stuff.
Yeah.
It's easy. You just blob.
The thing
like,
is,
most of their fleets are composed of like one person FCing and anchoring. Everyone else is anchoring.
2 different ship
running.
types. Yeah.
Yeah.
Logis
so-
and damage dealers.
Blob is
Exactly.
like step 20, is the end game, the blob,
But
Before it is where all the skill comes in, right? With
Yeah.
bombs, with covert ops, right?
I mean, it's very similar to our, like, for example, the Kikis. It's straightforward. Like, from the outside, it looks like, oh yeah, everyone's in Kikis or Kirins. But that's not really the case. We also have bombers with us. We have tackle guys with us. We've got a bunch of dictors. We've got usually a Hick with us, which is a specialized kind of thing. Then we bring, for example, a group of 3 Rodivas with us sometimes that can extend the lifetime of Cyanojammers significantly. Which is like a really
Your bombing
like,
wing, right?
yeah, exactly. Then we have bombs with like, so there is like a very like there's a lot of different jobs. And then those guys who say like, oh yeah, you're just ganking stuff and it's easy. Like if it was easy, everyone would be doing it, right? And I don't see
Exactly,
all that many people. Like I think it's you guys in Delph engaging the blob, and it's us engaging the blob, and then you have smaller groups that try to poke at them, but really engaging like on a bigger scale. There's not all that much going on,
Yeah.
right?
Said
Like
he
hunting
used to do
wise.
it when he was in test. But yeah, that's about it, isn't it?
Yeah, Seto doesn't have the numbers anymore, right? That's what Olmeca's like.
No,
I've got the
yeah.
advantage. I'm in a group. I can form. Like if I call a CTA, I get 300 people, easy peasy, right? I can't
Yeah,
form
I'd love
CTAs
to
for
do
this,
that. Oh.
obviously. So,
Yeah,
but for fun
if I
ops,
could
I get
form
100
a
people.
Fira,
So
yeah,
it's
if
quite
we could
nice.
get like 150 people in Fira, it'd be amazing, Like we have no
Yeah.
like blues really. Like we drop on anyone,
Assignable, yeah, no. Yeah, we even bring bump machines sometimes, just for that one guy who just warps lazily to the fucking fort and gets bumped. But yeah, it's not as easy as people might think. So I would say before your wife's gonna kill you, I would say we just end it right here. Unless you guys have something you really want to bring up, and we can talk about anything. Oh, one thing, FanFest. Have any of you guys been on FanFest?
Yeah, 2 FanFests, 1 Eve Vegas.
And Olmeca, have you been?
I just went to Vegas. Vegas this year was first Eve meet I've ever went.
And so what I did, like when Killer Bee was on, I think I did the same to Pro God Legend. I'm not quite sure, but I asked, like, do you have any tips? Like, because I'm gonna be at FanFest this year, which is actually a little bit more than a month, like 5 weeks, something like that. Do you guys have any what's on the list? Like on the list currently, I've got 1 second, I wrote it down. Killer B said, don't go to all the round tables because there's a lot of wasted time because like some idiots are just asking the dumbest questions. Which, you know, I can totally see that happen. And like instead just hang out with your friends, which is a solid advice, you know. And then stay away from the snuffles, right? But snuff isn't the thing anymore, but the snuff guys are still around. Because they get you drunk, like blackout drunk.
Yeah, it's a good laugh. Like, yeah, just get involved in all the pub cruise and stuff, and hit the Blue Lagoon. Like the Blue Lagoon was awesome when I went there. Really, really good place to visit. It's really, really awesome. But yeah, just go to the round tables. The things you're gonna like really get something from, right? You might be able to get a question in there to a dev that really answers your question. Like coming from CCP, it's something, isn't it? You know, like go to the things that really interest you, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it's gonna be a snowstorm in a week in Iceland, which is summit time. So I'm going to there in 29th of February for the summit, and but the third time in Iceland is something I cannot justify to my wife.
So you're not gonna be at FanFest? You're just gonna go
No.
there for the summit, all right?
Yeah, so the summit is of course more important with respect to, you know, it's less arbitrary, less fun. Like we don't have so much fun. We were literally in an office talking to people an entire week, but also like they pamper us with the nice dinners and everything, so that's cool. And accommodation and good hotel and everything, so that's nice. That's at least one upside of it. And maybe some people choose to extend and stay a few more days in Iceland, and so you get free tickets and you get to utilize them, you know. Other than that, it's not like FanFest, but it's something I'm gonna do at least.
Yeah, and get something close to Harper, like within walking distance, right? You don't want to be taking a taxi there every day or something. So get something close to the event.
I didn't choose the place, but it was pretty much in the center of Reykjavik. Like it should be close to the venue. Right, that's what I heard at least.
Yeah, it's a nice place to walk around. It's very safe and everyone's friendly. Yeah.
All right then.
Yeah, it's great being on. The show, man.
Guys,
yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, and then good luck on your on the CSM summit. Have fun. Hopefully you guys get some good shit done. No drama, please. No more wars with Sword and Willy. I'm not gonna ask even what happened there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's.
They obviously can't say.
I can say most of us is not condoning mixing CSM business with in-game business.
Yeah, I don't know if I like it or dislike. I don't know what happened. I would speculate. So let's not talk about it even. Yeah, guys, thanks a lot for coming on. I thought it was very interesting, and I hope the guys on stream enjoyed it too. Yeah, and SHV, thanks for the donation. Everyone else who resubbed and stuff like this, thanks a lot. And obviously, I always have the thingies off for these, so we don't get distracted. And yeah, I'd say see you guys around.
Yeah, cheers, man.
it's half a mil, dude. No, I had it on the other character. Triglavian Twilight.